prior to the meeting, we had a brief executive session where we reviewed the new contract for the DPW workers, the DPW union, which goes into effect as of July 1st, 2017. The vote was 7-0 to ratify those changes. The contract will be formally written and available within a week or so. Yeah. Okay, and then posted online. First up, we have a proclamation for the National Mental Health Awareness Month for May, and also a proclamation for Arbor Day for April 27th, 2018. All right. Bigger font on my screen. The Town of Portsmouth, Rhode Island National Mental Health Month, May 2018. Whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, and whereas all Americans experience times of difficulty and stress in their lives, and whereas prevention is an effective way to reduce the burden of mental health conditions, and whereas mental health conditions are real and prevalent in our nation, and with effective treatment, individuals with mental health conditions can recover and lead full, productive lives. And whereas businesses, schools, government agencies, healthcare providers, and citizens share the burden of mental health problems and have a responsibility to promote mental health wellness and support prevention and mental health first aid efforts. Therefore, I do hereby proclaim May 2018 as Mental Health Month in Portsmouth, Rhode Island. As Town Council President, I also call upon citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools in Portsmouth, Rhode Island to recommit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health, the steps our citizens can take to protect their mental health, and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental health conditions. So that is for our Mental Health Awareness Month. And then also we have Arbor Day, which we are Tree City, USA again, I'm assuming?
Yes, we are.
And that is X number of years in a row. Whereas Arbor Day began in 1872 when J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, now called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. The official day of celebration varies from state to state. But Rhode Island is celebrate Arbor Day on the same day as National Arbor Day, the last Friday in the month of April. And whereas on this Arbor Day, the Town of Portsmouth would like to thank National Grid for donating a tulip tree, the Portsmouth Public Works Department for preparing the planting of the trees, and the students of Hathaway for planting the tree. And whereas on this day, well, on Friday, on this day, April 27th, 2018, the Town of Portsmouth is celebrating the award of an American Beautiful grant to plant the next generation of trees in the grounds of our schools for future enjoyment of all Portsmouth school children. Whereas on this day, April 27th, 2018, Hathaway School is recognizing Edward Borden, friend of Hathaway School, with the planting of this tulip tree. This tree will stand tall and strong as a tribute to his unwavering dedication to the school, its staff, and students. Now, therefore, I, Keith Hamilton, President of the Portsmouth Town Council, do hereby proclaim Friday, April 27th, 2018 as Arbor Day in the Town of Portsmouth. And I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day by supporting the efforts to protect our trees and woodlands, and I urge all students to plant trees to promote well-being of this and future generations. And our tree handout was actually last weekend, the sapling handout, so if you missed that, you missed all the seedlings that were handed out. But that doesn't stop you from planting a tree. Ms. Pedro.
Are we going to get a new Arbor Day flag? I mean, not Arbor Day, Tree City
yes.
flag. Because the old one is kind of ratty.
As is the American flag there, too, I believe.
Yeah, well, actually, there's private citizens that keep replacing that flag.
We'll take care of that. Thank you.
Great.
Okay. Dr. Ryan.
I happen to notice Mr. Lehane in the audience, and I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank him and the work that he and his foundation do for promoting mental health among the citizens of our island. And again, to recommit, as the proclamation says, that we should do everything possible to support his work. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. On to our consent agenda, we have bills for 4/3/18 and 4/10/18. Any questions on the bills? Hearing none, do I have a motion to receive and place on file?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 6-1. Next up, sitting as the Board of License Commissioners. First up, we have annual peddler's license for Brew Dude LLC, doing business as Tiki Jack Shack, 33 Taxison Terrace in Tiverton. Copper Todd LLC, doing business at Hometown Poke, doing business as Hometown Poke, 55 Cromwell Street in Providence. And Brunch Belly, 80 Paradise Avenue in Middletown. The first two are for specific locations at Polo, and the second one did not specify a location as a food truck. Okay, so why don't we take the first two for Tiki Jack and Hometown Poke?
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next one is for Brunch Belly, which will allow them to essentially place anywhere in town.
Move to approve. Second.
They also didn't answer the hood suppression system question.
Or we can ask that when they come pick up their license.
He's got one, and he has an appointment on May 18th.
Should have
For
it.
the Department of Health.
Okay. So once he brings that in, he can get his license. Okay. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up, we have a public hearing for a new liquor license application, Class BV liquor license for Salsa's Burrito Grill LLC at 108 Chase Road. For all us old timers, that's the old NEP. Is there anyone who would like to speak to or for or against issuing a license for Salsa's Burrito Grill LLC? Please come to the podium. When you do come to the podium, if you could please state your name and your address for the record, because this is a formal public hearing.
Hi, I'm Judith Byron. I live at 33 Founders Avenue, Apartment 2 in Portsmouth. And I am not in agreement with this liquor license being issued.
Okay?
That's it?
That's it. You can give a reason if you'd like, or just say you don't want to. That's up to you. You don't have to.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, my biggest concern is...
If you just...
Gene Barone, I live at 33 Founders Avenue.
Thank you.
First floor. I'm not used to this. I just been living there for like 25 years, and we've never had a liquor license. Been Chase Pizza, it's been Samantha's. There's never been a liquor license there. Our kids ride our bikes down there, and I just don't know what's going to happen to the license if they do close. And now we got a liquor license at that store continually, or...
No, that's not the way it works here in Portsmouth. We're not Newport. It doesn't just float around. Somebody else purchases
Stay
it.
there.
No, if they leave, they turn in the license, and then it has to be reapproved by the council.
Oh.
So, and they have to be
It's not
approved.
grandfathered in, like
Nope.
everything else was?
No, and this license technically would only run until December 1st, because it has to be renewed every year. So if there were issues, those would be brought forth, or could be brought forth at that hearing on the...
There's a few people that are opposed to it in our neighborhood. We just never got them together soon enough. I mean, I didn't know until I saw the menu that they were serving margaritas and beer, which is a full-blown liquor license, but
Hopefully, they haven't started serving margaritas and beer yet.
no, it's on the menu, but...
Okay.
I guess they did that, but anyway,
Okay.
that's my opinion.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir. Yes,
Hi, my
ma'am.
name's Janine Barone. I also live on Founders Ave, and I'm opposed to it due to the type of neighborhood with the children.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else? This is a public hearing, so I do have to ask you a couple of times. Anybody else wants to speak either for or against the license? Going once? Going twice? Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Close the meeting. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Let me see. So as I stated, the license right now, licenses are specific to a building here in Portsmouth. If it goes to leave a building and they open up a new building, they have to reapply to have it moved from a building. The one thing I don't see are hours of operation and what they would ask for a license. I believe they're only open until 10 o'clock.
They're here.
Okay. We could specify hours if need be. And then the license would only run until November 30th, and they would have to renew if there are any issues, we could address those then. We do have other facilities in town that have limited liquor licenses that only run, so this is not going to be a bar that's open until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. This is going to be closing at their regular time, similar to other neighborhood locations. Any counselors have any thoughts or questions?
What's the typical license hours at 11?
10 o'clock?
It's 10 a.m.? No.
It's 11 o'clock until...
Well, we can, until whenever.
They can be whatever we set.
Right.
I just want to understand what typically the license was.
So, Beachcomber, Tremblay's,
Yes.
locals are all 1 o'clock. I'm not sure what, I don't think,
They can open very, very early.
I'm not sure what, Public House is 10 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock. They're 12 to 10. So, we can do something similar to that. We can limit the hours. You can make it 4 to 10 if you wanted to, so there's no cocktails in the afternoon. That's a trial period as well. Ms. Ujifusa.
I just have a question about, given the concerns of the citizens, and is it possible to make the license be for a shorter period than to November 30th?
It's a yearly license, a yearly renewal, but they renew, so technically there's only 6 months.
And it's full price because there's no prorating either, correct?
There is...
There is prorating?
I'm just a little concerned that the citizens are saying that they had no notice of this, and that there are others who wanted to speak, and so is it a terrific burden on the business to give the public a little bit more notice?
Just to let you know, it was advertised.
Okay.
It was advertised at prerequisite 3 times? 2 times.
And they got letters.
So anybody within 200 feet should have gotten a letter?
Oh, the abutters got letters.
Okay. And abutters are the standard 200 feet from the...
We're very close. I mean, it's got to be, I mean, I don't know if it's 200 feet, but we're very close to that establishment.
And you did not get...
No. No. The hours be limited. Can they limit the hours?
That's what we're discussing now.
Okay. Sorry.
No. Is anybody here from Salsa's or...
The gentleman that owns it, I think, just walked out.
No, that's Alex. That's from, he's from Patriot.
Got the wrong guy.
I mean, we could hold it till the first meeting in May, if you would like, or we could limit the hours.
I make a motion that we hold this till the first meeting in May.
Second.
Okay? Mr. Gavin, do we need to do any further re-advertising, or just table it until...
Continue the hearing.
Continue. Well, we already closed the
You already
public
closed
hearing.
the hearing, so I don't know what, continue it to make a decision.
Continuing it would just be the council decision, because the public hearing's already
Close
closed.
the hearing, so there's probably no reason to continue it, so people can come, it's already closed the hearing.
And we can't reopen the hearing?
I mean, you closed the hearing, everyone got notice, it was advertised. I mean, it's pretty much, you pretty much rigidly got to follow the state law on liquor license.
And there's no ability to make a motion to reopen the hearing?
No, without advertising.
Yeah, I suppose theoretically, yes, you could. I mean, it's just start all over. I mean, person filed everything the way it was supposed to be filed, as far as I know. All the advertising was done, and this is the hearing.
I guess my concern is that they didn't send a representative to answer concerns.
Right.
So I think I would be...
They moved to reconsider the motion to close the hearing, and reopen it, and then continue the whole thing until... That's what we should do.
Okay.
Okay.
So...
Withdraw the second.
So motion to reconsider the closing, that's the motion?
No.
Did you already vote?
You want to withdraw the motion first?
Withdraw your motion to...
I will withdraw my motion,
Now,
and our counsel is
Paul
suggesting...
is... Who?
I closed it, Dave seconded it.
Okay. So will you make a motion to...
So I'd make a motion to continue to May,
To reopen the public hearing?
to reopen the public hearing.
Second. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Now, if we can have a motion to continue the public hearing until the first meeting in May, which is May 14th.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We will reconvene on the 14th of May to discuss this, and hopefully the applicant will be here to answer any of your concerns. Okay? Thank you. Next up, we have the consideration of reestablishing the temporary seasonal expansion of the service area from April 1st, 2018, which has passed, so we're really looking at, it would have been cold on April 1st, 2018, too. So we're looking at probably April 25th, let's say, because it takes a day to get the paperwork done, to December 31st, 2018, for locals, which is the same outside expansion area out back. We're not expanding it any further than it already has been. Is there...
I'll make a motion to grant them the temporary expansion of the service area at locals.
Second.
Any questions from anyone? Anyone in the audience?
Were there any complaints about the operation last summer?
Chief, any issues outside?
No.
No? I didn't have any complaints. I sat out there by the fire, had a nice meal with my kids.
I don't care.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. A motion to adjourn as the Board of License Commissioners.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We have minutes from the meeting on 4/9/18. Any questions on the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We have tax vouchers from 2018-0423-01 to 2018-0423-05.
Motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor?
1 second,
Aye.
Mr. President.
Hang on.
Thank you.
Am I moving too fast?
I have a question for for the tax assessor. Based on the certified number that's in the budget, these tax vouchers come off the number that we were originally given?
Now, these are for this year's roll. Certification numbers had these basically factored in already.
Thank you very much. I'm ready to vote, Mr. President.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up, we have the Town Administrator's report. Mr. Rayner.
Good evening, Mr. President, Council, ladies and gentlemen. First up, it's my pleasure to announce the promotion of Mary Ann Perry as our new Deputy Police Chief. Mary Ann was promoted to Major and started in her new role last Monday. Mary Ann has worked up through the ranks over an exemplary 20-year career and service to her community, and we look forward to working with her in her new role as Deputy Chief of Police.
Mary Ann. Hang on, Mr. Rayner, if you give me one quick second. Mary Ann's mother and father are here in the audience. We'd like to congratulate them as well. Great job. You raised a fantastic daughter. I know she's going to do a great job. And I know you're shy, so you don't want to come up and take a picture, right?
Additionally, Portsmouth Police Officer Michael Quinn has been chosen by the Mothers Against Drunk Driving Recognition Committee to receive a MAD Hero Pin at the annual recognition breakfast on May 4th. This recognition is well-deserved, and I know we all join Chief Lee and Mary Ann in thanking Michael for all he does on behalf of the town and keeping our roads safe. With respect to the dog park, as reported last council meeting, repairs to the dog park have been completed, so both the large and small dog park areas are now open. As reported in the last council meeting, there was a medical emergency distribution system pod exercise. Over 20 volunteers and staff held an exercise last Thursday inside Portsmouth High School to demonstrate how the town would distribute vaccines during a widespread medical emergency. I'd like to recognize Matt Murphy, our facilities manager, Fire Chief Cranston, and our firefighters for their outstanding effort to make this a successful operation. The evaluator from Rhode Island Department of Health was pleased with the exercise. That now completes all the required state Department of Health meds deliverables, which makes us eligible for $3,400 in state funding this fiscal year. With respect to the trash compactor at the transfer station, the installation of the new compactor at the transfer station is complete and normal operations resumed this morning. I'd like to thank Vinagro and the team down there for making this a seamless operation, and hats off to our DPW Deputy Director for managing this operation, this replacement. I'd like to announce that the Portsmouth Library will be holding a Touch a Truck fundraiser at the Glen on Saturday, May 5th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. There will be construction trucks, motorcycles, a school bus, a fire engine, and more. In addition to the truck display, there will be various activities for children, and food will be available for purchase from the Portsmouth Lions Club. Proceeds from the event will go towards library purchases, and admission is only $3 per person for the day. With respect to the police building construction milestones this period, structural steel has been erected, detailing is underway, and the ground floor slab is now in place. We are still quantifying the cost associated with remediating unsuitable soils encountered during and after excavation work. However, the project is still on budget and due to be substantially completed in October of this year. The project is approximately 17% complete. I'd like to announce that the Portsmouth Conservation Commission is sponsoring 2 Conservation Day events. The first is a community trash cleanup and fair to be held next Saturday, April 28th, from 10 to 12:30 p.m. Volunteers are invited to meet at the Brown House at the Glen. Participants are eligible to win a $125 gift certificate donated by Rail Explorers. The second is a free slideshow and discussion exploring the challenges of climate change for Portsmouth to be held next Sunday, April 29th, from 1:30 to 3 p.m. at the Portsmouth Library. Representatives from the Narragansett Bay Research Reserve, University of Rhode Island, as well as our Portsmouth Town Planner, Gary Crosby, will be present. Presentations will be followed by a community discussion and question and answer period. As an aside, I'd like to note that there were over 200 volunteers who worked to clean up the Pheasant Drive beach area for Earth Day yesterday. I'd like to thank the local Girl Scouts, volunteers, and Clean Ocean Access for making this happen. Also on Saturday, May 5th, from 2 to 4 p.m., Bike Newport is sponsoring an inaugural Portsmouth Community Farm-to-Farm bike ride. Walkers and strollers will also be welcome. Check-in will be at the school administration building parking lot prior to the event. Participants will pass 6 family farms on their way up and back Middle Road. Parking and refreshments will be available at the Escobar's Farmhouse in Field. And lastly, we were just able to confirm this today that unfortunately, due to too many scheduling conflicts, the resident meeting with Green Energy concerning the turbine had to be rescheduled. It will now be Wednesday, May 16th from 6 to 8 p.m. here in Council Chambers. This will allow the maximum number of residents who had expressed a desire to attend the meeting to attend. A notice to all concerned was sent today. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Rayner? No? Okay. Next up, we have removals, resignations, and appointments. First up, we have a removal of Mr. Wyatt from the Harbor Commission.
To accept with regrets.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We have a resignation from the Harbor Commission for Mr. Coyle.
To accept with regrets.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. And we have an appointment to the Harbor Commission for Mr. Donahue.
Motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0, so that leaves the Harbor Commission with one vacancy still, if my math is correct. On to old business. Discussion and action, potential changes, amendments, and additions to the 2018 transfer station rules. Mr. Gleason.
Thank you, Mr. President. All councilors received a letter from a resident, Mrs. Grimes, sent us a letter about her being turned away from using a tarp for disposing of yard waste, and she's here to speak to that tonight. I also will hand out some suggested changes to our rules. Anybody that's been at the transfer station since we've gone to pay-as-you-throw will see a clean and orderly operation. Mr. Antea, our recycling coordinator, has done a great job there, working with Patriot Disposal, and we've seen some positive changes up there. Some of the things, in my opinion, the rules are being strictly enforced, and in some cases being too restrictive to our citizens using the compact station. And the whole concept of using a tarp is one of those rules that, in my opinion, falls in that category. So I'll let her speak to that, and then I'll take it again with my own concerns.
Jean Grimes, 41 Lambie Circle. And I haven't had an opportunity recently to go to the transfer station, but my husband has, and they did allow him to use the tarp that day, but informed him that they weren't allowed. We don't know. We've always used a tarp and had never run into that before. So, but I did want to request the use of either plastic or cloth tarps for the purpose of unloading branches, sticks, leaves, and yard debris, according to the rules, with the length of the sticks and everything. My husband, was told recently that tarps weren't allowed. Using barrels or bags makes the cleanup of small yard waste impossible or extremely difficult and time-consuming for people with any restrictions, such as back, knee, hip issues. The continuous and repeated up and down movement required to place such debris into bags or a barrel promotes further injury to the body. One using a tarp can rake the pre-cut to required length branches and leaves onto the tarp, as opposed to laborious bending it takes to load yard waste into barrels or bags. When you use a lopper, you're not really bent totally over to cut the debris, so that works well. Also, one person can handle a tarp in this way, whereas two people are required to use the barrel and bag, as someone has to hold either in place for the person that is loading. The tarps can be tied at the ends, but left open in the middle for inspection if necessary. One person can handle a tarp, putting the neck into the whole opening of the hole, untie that end, and let the debris slip out of the tarp without a mess being on the floor. Or a tarp can also be lifted over the gate. I'm not really sure how they're doing it right now. I think
It's being lifted into a dumpster.
It's being lifted over the side of a dumpster.
That's about that high from the floor here.
into a dumpster.
Yeah.
In the past, I've, lifted it and just untied one and it just falls out. So not only does a tarp, let's see, lost my place here. Okay, so not only does a non-tarp rule can cause the above issue, making it harder for people who have limitations to rid their yard waste themselves, it actually can cause injuries such as your knees or the other things mentioned above. The cost of hiring someone to do this chore is often out of reach for many people, and I've been given prices of like $1,000 to $1,500 a spring just to get my leaves out of the gardens and things like this. I ask that people have a choice to use a tarp, plastic or cloth, instead of the rule that is in place now, being outside, taking pride in one's property, getting exercise and healthy activity if it does not cause pain or injury. Think of people who have these and other limitations like arthritis and need healthy exercise such as this. Also, consider the demographics weighing on the higher age side of those people that are on the high end of the age side, me included, of this town and the state, actually. And so I think people can feel like it could be, it could be considered discriminatory because we've just found it so much easier just to rake it onto a laid-out tarp, tie the ends. And I did take a picture of a tarp, and it's open in the middle. So if somebody wanted to inspect it, even just by lifting it, you can tell if there's a stump in the bottom by lifting it. Whereas if you have a plastic barrel, you'd have to throw the stuff out to see the stump or something in the bottom. And we've always cut up our stuff and we take pride in making, the yard look neat. So, that's it. Have I forgotten anyone? Any questions?
Thank you very much for bringing these concerns to us. I know in the conversations I've had with Mr. Antaya and the gentleman, the safety officer at the compact station, there are concerns of tripping hazards, but I would argue that you're going to lose something out of a barrel just as easily as you can out of a tarp. There are sometimes 3 people in employ by Vinagro there, or Patriot, I should say, and they are supposed to help people out, whether you've got a barrel or whether you've got a tarp. I don't see that there's much difference. The only requirement we put on here is the container being no greater than 64 gallons now. That seems like it would have to be a pretty big tarp to get to that point, capacity-wise. But my intentions tonight was obviously to see that Mrs. Grimes had a chance to bring this here. There are some other things. I've handed out a sheet to my fellow councilors here that my own personal experience recently in trying to dispose of a box spring, our rules say that it must be clean, dry, and in recyclable condition. And I'm just suggesting that we fine-tune some of these things here because it's kind of a speculative, or I guess that's not the right word for it. Who's to determine whether that box spring was recyclable? And I would be looking to add language as determined by the compact station operator. The truck tires, what determines a truck tire? Is it a size thing? There's some things in here that need to be tightened up in my mind. The C&D, why are we putting electrical wiring in metals with construction demolition debris when the town could be putting money in their pocket by recycling the metal? So the other thing I found out was on ABC, it was suggested to me that ceramic and clay pots should be going in ABC. We don't have that on our rules here. So my main, unless anybody else wants to speak to it, I guess what I'm looking to do is to work with Mr. Antaya to come up with some further refinement to these rules and then bring them back to the council for approval. Any comments, Mr. Reyna, you would like to make on the subject?
Yes, I reviewed this with Mr. Gleason. I agree with everything he said. I think it's reasonable. We've also communicated with Ted Pites, the chairman of the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee. He also agrees. So I'd wholeheartedly support and work with Mr. Antaya to present to the council updated and refined rules.
maybe this could be presented at the next meeting of the Solid Waste Committee. They could actually do a little looking into this, why these things were written this way, if there's any more information that would be useful in considering these things. And it's sort of their purview, so, it's out the door.
Sure, and they can give us most of our committees are supposed to come before us once a year anyway, so they can combine that as well.
And you want to include the operator as well? I know Alex has gone out, in and out 3 times. He's gone now.
He's a busy guy.
Yeah.
What I'd like to do, though, in the case of the tarps, unless somebody sees a major rule, I would like to just see us, it's not listed here that we can't use it. I mean, it's at our discretion that we should allow them, and I'd like to see that at least done now, if not on a trial basis. And if it poses a hazard, we can, explore that again.
So I wholeheartedly support that. We've been looking at it since we received the letter. I can't find why that rule is interpreted that way. It seems to make sense, and there's no reason why we shouldn't try it.
Motion to amend the rules to explicitly allow a tarp, and I guess for the other changes, Mr. Gleason's suggesting to work with our Solid Waste and Recycling Committee, as well as Mr. Antaya to implement, who's on the committee, sorry, to look into amendments to the existing rules.
Thank you.
That'd be a second?
Second.
There we go.
I would like somebody else to second
Sure.
my motion.
No.
That's fine.
Mr. Gessen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thought we went to a 64-gallon container such that we didn't have to deal with landscapers coming in. It was producing rules that we could enforce. I'm afraid, for 2 reasons, I was blessed today to be at the compact station when I think a gentleman fell. Another gentleman was unloading his Honda. I couldn't believe you could get that much into a Honda. He dropped a branch on the ground. Another gentleman was trying to unload his truck, and I believe somebody went down. I'm not very happy with a tarp from a different standpoint, because I tried to help somebody the other day who went in with a hose, didn't have a bag, so I reached in my car, gave him a bag. He tried to put the hose in the bag and also had a piece of styrofoam. He broke the styrofoam up, and I can tell you right now, Patriot probably spent an hour sweeping up styrofoam that was all over the place. And I'd not want to see the station go back to the condition it was in. And if bringing leaves in tarps and causing safety issues down there, because the ground is not clean, in my mind, is not a good thing. So I wouldn't be for this motion that's in front of us the way it is, unless somebody from Patriot is represented on the team. Because I'd hate to have to start to see another body show up down there at $92,000, $89,000. I don't remember what the number was, but it was more money than Mr. Atea gets just to keep the place as clean as it is. And so I would not support this motion the way it is without including somebody from Patriot, such that we've got representation of the gentlemen that are trying to run the station and enforce the rules that we create here in the front of the room.
What night does the recycling committee meet?
It's the third Wednesday.
First Wednesday.
No, it's, I think, the third Wednesday.
All right. So if we would like to do that, I think...
Second
Wednesday.
Second Wednesday.
To make life easy, since they close on Thursday nights at 7, could we make it a Tuesday or Thursday night so that somebody from Patriot's already here, they don't have to wait around for 3 hours?
I would like to get, seeing Alex is here,
Alex is back.
I thought he was somebody else earlier. I apologize for that.
Liquor license? Well,
it was the liquor license guy.
Yeah. Henry Mello was in here. Looks very
Henry
similar.
Mello. I know Henry. I went to school with Henry.
How are you?
Very well, Alex. How are you?
Good. Me personally, I think the tops are a bad idea because it turns into a safety issue. Because if someone has a log or something other than leaves or sticks in there, when they're dumping it out, the top will open up, it'll fall on the ground. Now, if there is a little log in there mixed with leaves, they're going to step on the leaves and they're going to slip and they're going to fall. For the most part, it's a safety issue. Second of all, it's just going to make a mess, because I don't care who you are, you're not going to be able to grab this top and flip it over the container and get everything inside the container.
Could we make and this is going to be more along your safety, guys, but is it possible for us to make a walk-up platform that allows people to be at least higher up to the dumpster for that specific thing?
Now, you're either dealing with a ramp or you're dealing with steps. We got rid of the ramps because of the
Because
safety
people
issue.
fell on those, especially in the wintertime.
Yep.
I was thinking more steps, but then you
even with-
limit an ADA access.
Even with steps, you're going up and carrying a barrel, or now you got to concentrate on carrying a barrel and trying to make it up the steps safely.
Yeah, the other thing is, person that needs help could stop right at the gate and ask for assistance from your man. I mean, I think that's going to increase the safety factor just by getting your man involved to assist with that tarp.
When I was there today, they were helping somebody.
In the past, there was always a push broom next to the pits as well. And
Well,
that's a
but the yard waste is outside now.
good place to leave it, an extra one out there, for that conscious person that does drop a little bit of trash to be able to put it into a pile, at least out of the way,
Leaving it to the residents to clean up the pile?
Yes, sir. Your guy's going to push the broom eventually, but if they made a spill, what's wrong with them pushing it into a pile? for your
Because
guy?
99% of them aren't going to do that.
Yeah.
They're not going to do it if the broom isn't there.
The tough part with the yard waste issue is we're talking 2.5 months in the spring and 2.5 months in the fall,
Yeah,
and then it's
very
kind of
limited.
sporadic during the summer.
Correct.
For some of the other types of waste, there's actually walk-in containers. Is there any chance that we could have like a walk-in?
No, we did away with them.
Yeah.
Okay,
Those people were slipping, the town got
Safety compliance.
because of the way this sets out.
Yeah.
Mr.
When
Chairman.
it rains, it gets inside and it gets slippery.
So last time I went to shove it, try to heave a barrel over the edge of the dumpster, I realized I should have been training for 3 or 4 weeks before I did that.
Or you should make it barrel later.
Right.
One or the other.
32-gallon barrel instead of 64.
Mr. Chairman, I know that my motion envisions that people who are familiar with this situation can come up with a compromise solution as between keeping it exactly the same way as it is now and going to a situation that is unacceptable. So could we just have them try to talk this through? And because I very much respect our Recycling and Solid Waste Committee. They are really a great committee, and I think they've thought about these issues and could, come up with some kind of solution with everybody sitting around a table. So
Remind me of your motion. I think your motion
My motion is that-
was to go to TARPs
Yeah, it was.
and then have the meeting for the
All
other
right.
stuff. Right.
I will withdraw that motion and submit a new motion that the Solid Waste Committee and Mr. Antaya and representatives from Patriot, as well as any other interested community members, could meet to discuss a possible solution to the problem of not allowing tarps, and also other recommendations that Mr. Gleason has presented.
Would Eric be available again, it'd be easier for a Tuesday or Thursday night because they're open until 7 o'clock.
Yeah, well, I can make them available.
Okay. Appreciate that.
That's
Absolutely.
acceptable.
Okay. Mr. Gleason, you want to second the new motion? No, you're still
No,
free.
I'm kind of
second.
disappointed
Thank
that
you.
we're not passing the tarps right away, and I apologize to the Grimes. It's going to be a process. Hopefully, it'll work out in the end, but...
Sounds like the Grimes worked really hard and they've already cleaned up their yard. So.
Yeah.
It's not dumped yet. Could I just add one thing?
Sure.
Could you come up to the podium and speak?
Somebody at the podium.
I'm sure Mr. Ramos will yield for a second. Absolutely.
I'd just like to add that it's very hard for me to lift a barrel as opposed to, and I have a photograph of a tarp. I can grab the nuts, tie it on the end, and it's open in the middle. And lift it and just untie one end and it slips in. And I have seen people before use a broom. I don't know if there's, this is the height of the gate that they had, which sounds like the same height as or maybe...
The gate was about 42 inches roughly.
And how high is
The dumpster is probably close to 50 inches.
Pretty close.
It gets to be very difficult for someone like myself to do that. So I can handle a tarp easily because I can just put as much as I can handle in one tarp and go and do the chore myself.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think the important part is that when you go up there with, if you bring a barrel and you choose to bring a barrel, or anybody that's using a compact station and has problems emptying it, to ask at the gate for assistance.
I'm sure the guys inside would rather come out and help you than have to sweep up because you missed.
Or write an accident
Not you
report.
specific, or write an accident report.
Never really made a mess for us.
Yeah.
And I just want to add that I spoke briefly to the chair of the Recycling and Solid Waste Committee, Mr. Peets, and he is generally in favor of using tarps. So, right.
Mr. Roberts.
Yeah, Peter Roberts, 80 Armrod Avenue. Now, I've taken tops there before, but I tie them. So, like she said, you can shoot them out one end. And I've never had a problem. I usually have somebody else with me, okay? But I usually take it in a barrel. Now, when it comes to the 64, that's 232s. Okay, I think that's why they gave it 64, because you can bring 2 barrels. If it was more than 2 barrels, you get charged. So they just combine the amount would be in 2 barrels. But another thing, a lot of times when you go in there, you'll see people bringing this kind of stuff out of their vehicle that isn't big enough to carry it. They can't carry a big barrel with it. They got to have some other means to do it. And you can't use plastic bags on this because the sticks grab a hold of it, and you can't dump it out. So it's got to be a means of where it will slide out. Now, if somebody goes there and just has the top there and they're trying to hold it together and stuff, then they're wrong. That should not be allowed. But the way that woman talked about it, that's a good way to do it. There's no reason not to. And another thing, you go there many times, and that dumpster is completely full. You have to dump it on the ground next to the dumpster. You cannot go up there and dump it on. If you did, half of it comes down. So that's a problem that comes in there because it's not emptied. And people try their best to walk down the sides as far as possible. But even other times when you bring it out, somebody's bringing it out of something like an SUV and it flips, it's all over the ground. And like you said, if there's a broom there, most people will sweep it up. Some will not. Of course they won't, all right? Because as far as they're concerned, that's not their job. But most people try to do everything they can.
Yep.
And the idea is this is that kind of stuff that is going to be a problem when you walk around it. I mean, I've had one time when he got my shoelace and I tried to kick it off and I couldn't, and I ended up tripping. But that wasn't my fault. And it's just because the piles were next to the dumpster. But the easiest way somebody can do it, and to do it the best way, and she ties it up the best way to do it, and she's got a vehicle that can't carry anything else. So you really need to think about that. Thank you very much.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, like I said, this is the rough time of year. God forbid, it's finally gotten warm out, and now people are out in their yards. So this is a very busy weekend down there for it, and I suspect next week will be just as busy. And I know I talked to Eric today, and I think he emptied that dumpster 2 or 3 times this weekend, just from yard waste alone. So, okay. So the motion is to.
Didn't get a second.
You did.
I did.
Ms. Bader.
Didn't it?
Yep. The motion is to forward this to the recycling committee to work with Ms. Antea and Patriot to come up with some new additions. The one request I would have is to properly spell out the light bulbs in here as well, especially the long ones. We have to get rid of them, but those are only available to be taken away during hazardous waste times, which I think is this weekend, but I'm not sure if they'll take them down to Middletown. There's a hazardous waste cleanup at Second Beach at Middletown with Clean Harbors, but I'm not sure if they're not taking e-waste, they're taking hazardous materials.
Take the bulbs.
So I think they take the bulbs during hazardous materials, not during e-waste. So all those in favor of the motion? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. So we'll give the guys about a month or so to work it out and bring it back to us. Be great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. All right. Next up, we have our monthly finance report. Mr. Rayner, you're going to swing this one since Fung is...
Well, she's jet-lagged at the moment. She
just got back from her
China.
Trip to China. That's fantastic.
And Mr. President, Council, with respect to the budget update for March, this update represents 75% of the current fiscal year. Overall revenues are 2.52% ahead of the budget projections, and expenditures are about 1% below budget projection. There were no significant wire or clearinghouse transfers to report that month.
Anybody have specific questions on the update, the monthly budget update?
Mr. President, I'd like to ask a couple questions.
Sure.
Do we know the cash balance of the fund balance right now? Mr. Rayner?
I don't have that available right now. I can get that to you first thing in the morning.
Thank you very much.
Which fund balance do you want? The rainy day fund balance or the operational fund balance?
Operational fund balance?
Okay.
Actually, just do them all, if you would, the two of them. Second thing is, I see police and fire are fairly substantial.
That's correct. We have ordered a stop to all discretionary spending. We had the fire chief in today, and we will, Tom doesn't know it yet, we will be bringing Tom in here very shortly to discuss his budget as well.
Because it looks like it's getting up there. All right, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
I think that the biggest number on both is the overtime.
Of course.
Do we have a...
Motion to approve.
Do we have a full complement from both yet of employees? No.
No,
Okay.
I can't believe they do.
Okay. We have a motion to receive and place on file?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Any further questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up, we have new business. New business number 1, request to replace and reposition the polo scoreboard from the west side to the east side.
Can I ask one more question, Mr. President? before we
Back
move
to
on?
the...
Yep.
Sure.
Is there going to be a solution presented to the council, or a resolution, on how this budget, or if this budget is going to come in
Yes, in accordance with the charter, money can obviously be moved within a department, but it cannot be moved department to department, and that would be brought to the council for your permission if that's going to be needed. We'll probably have the refinement on what needs to be done.
in my mind, it
next month.
seems like police is right on the edge, and maybe fire is just a little over.
We're monitoring it, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, now on to new business. Mr. Keating, how are you this evening?
Great, thank you.
So we want to move the scoreboard that's on the west side down to the east side and make it a big, pretty screen so you can show instant replays, huh?
I don't think we'll get to the instant replay part, but that requires, people have asked about that, but that requires a video booth and a bunch of different cameras and a whole nother set of costs. But we would like to do that, move the scoreboard and create a video component to it.
So you're going to ditch what's your new line in there, or is there already a little power down there?
There's power nearby. There's power right at the lower gate.
Okay.
So there's probably a 400-foot trench that would dig, probably put it in the paddocks so it doesn't disturb the grass.
Okay. Anybody have questions for Mr. Keating? Mr. Kessin?
I have a question to this council more than anything. We just turned away the Portsmouth High School Student Council for putting in a lit sign, much smaller than this one, because it wasn't compliant with our sign ordinances. Are we putting ourselves in jeopardy authorizing this?
So there were two reasons for the Portsmouth High School sign. One, it was a flashing sign with a flashing background, and it was on a main road.
I thought they were just asking for a lit sign.
No, they
No,
were
they
asking
wanted to have
for
it
an
changing.
LED sign, and they had a waving background in the sign, so they're redesigning that.
Yeah, they want it to be changeable as well. So.
This one will definitely be changeable.
And it's going to run for 3 hours a day,
For 17
every Saturday
days.
for
17 days
17
a week,
days a year.
and then,
And it's...
another idea that we had.
No. Not unless you can see through the brown house.
Wait a minute, it's not behind the Brown House.
It's going to be all the way down on the
It'll
east
be all
side
the way
towards the
down
Glen
away
Road.
from the brown house.
Directly, yeah.
Yeah, it's not
The house
behind
doesn't,
it.
the house doesn't
No,
get
no,
in the
no.
way.
If you're driving down East Main Road, you should not be able to see that sign. Hopefully. Hopefully you're not looking for it because you're
We
driving
don't
your
hope.
car.
Make sure that isn't seen.
It's also,
I don't like hope.
it's down a slope. There's no way you can see it from East Main Road, but you're correct. It's not directly behind the Brown House. It's at the other end of the field.
Right. So the kid thinks it's not visible from the road.
Correct.
That's correct.
Yeah, the brown house would be at the far left corner.
Upper left, yeah.
Up here, on the right.
Even further. Off the screen.
Nothing, yeah.
Mr. President, I would make a motion to approve the replacement and repositioning of the Polo scoreboard.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Pedro, you have a question?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So it needs a control center of some sort, though.
Yes.
So where's that going to be?
In the tower.
Oh, in the tower where the bleachers, stadia.
Center, north center.
Yep. And you're apparently going to pay for the electricity costs.
Yes.
Who's responsible if it's vandalized? You are.
I am, yes.
Because I hope people don't go down there at night and, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'm told by the manufacturer that when they install this at lacrosse fields and hockey stadiums, that the guys actually shoot lacrosse balls and hockey board.
Oh, so it's pretty sturdy.
So they have these little black louvers over the thing that kind of shade it.
That's good.
And protect it.
And then I was just concerned about if you somehow are not going to use it anymore, or you leave, the fields, are you going to take it down when?
I'd like to. I think that would be a discussion with the town solicitor, whether I'd be able to under the terms of the
I
lease.
think that might, I think that might need to be part of the motion.
Well, it's an LED screen. We can use it for movies.
Only if it said Portsmouth Polo.
Oh, we are in Newport County.
I know, then why doesn't it say Portsmouth Polo then instead of Newport?
Because it's Newport County, we want to include the
All
whole
right.
county.
Nice try.
County's implied.
There was a motion and a second to approve the repositioning and the new scoreboard. Any further questions from the council? Mr. Gleason?
I think she raises a legitimate point about removal of it. Is that a concern that you have?
I'm
As
going
far
to
as
take a
the lease
look at
goes?
the lease, I mean, see what happens with, I don't know if that's considered a...
I mean, basically, for me, it would have value,
Right.
Resale value if I could remove it. The question would be, would you let me remove it?
I mean,
I mean, it
the
would
thing
be
is,
governed by the terms of...
when people leave things behind, they usually leave kind of crappy things behind, as opposed to something that we could benefit the next person potentially could use.
Yeah, well,
If there's another person.
We kind of need to have that question answered before we vote on this, because I'm voting on something that I have a big question mark.
well, if the current lease runs out in 19, correct?
No.
19 or is it 21? I think it's 19.
I believe it's 21.
Thought it was 19.
I'll check it, though.
I mean, we can make it part of the motion that if he leaves, he takes it with him.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Can we do that?
I didn't know if the concern was if he leaves, you take it with him, or if he leaves, he leaves it for the town. I mean, it can go either way, depending on your point of view.
I think he needs to take it with him.
My other thing is, when you're installing power, you have to be direct burial at 3 feet, Brian, code? So I don't know whether he knows.
Yeah, no, it'd be in conduit, like a 3-inch conduit.
So would he be required to remove that? Or would,
If you remove that sign, then I would think you'd have to remove the power too.
because it's a safety issue if somebody breaks through the conduit. So and the line's left off.
We'll know, we'll know where the line is.
Yeah, we'd know where the line is, we'd have a disconnect at the meter.
And put it in the ground.
And Brian would supervise
If
the
the council's
install.
concern is that it be removed at the end of the lease, then I don't think there's any legal problem. If, obviously, Mr. Keating would like to have his sign.
That would be good,
No,
because, well, I'm just concerned, they don't last forever, and I don't want to be stuck with, this thing.
My issue was that if the council was interested in forcing the tenant to leave it at the end of the lease, that I'd need to take a look at the
That wasn't my
lease. Okay.
concern.
If that's the concern, then I think you're on the same page.
My concern was more, like the turbine.
If he goes, he takes it with him.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to
And removes the power?
Yeah, that wouldn't be a problem, it's just that'd be an afternoon with an excavator.
Great.
And Brian, you'll oversee the trench, just make sure it's installed properly, and you'll work with Brian?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so I'll make an amendment to the motion that we include that. Mr. Keating will take it if he ever decides to leave us. the end of his lease.
And
Or
remove
one of his leases.
and remove the services.
And remove the services.
Second to the...
Okay.
A question, how much does this sign cost?
Well, that's up to a couple of different factors. What I wanted to do is get the...
20K.
An approval first. And then they can do the engineering, because a significant part of it is the foundation. It's going to stick in the ground a little bit so it doesn't blow over. And based on what that is, that'll decide what size it would be.
And what's a ballpark figure?
$100,000.
$100,000. Maybe we want him to leave this sign for us.
Maybe he'll want us to
Well,
pay for it.
yeah, suppose,
But
then,
if
you know,
have a use for it.
Yeah, no, I'm
use for
just-
it, but if you don't have a
yeah.
use for it, it wouldn't,
yeah.
Well, we could relocate it to the high school for football games, but...
At what, that's just,
Well, I mean, in all seriousness, is that, what are, you don't know
I
what...
think if the council were to vote, that yes, the lease says for the signs, you come to the council for approval, but it also says that the council recognizes that he needs signs for his polo operation. And if the town were to say, yeah, we'll give you permission to put up a $100,000 sign, but we're going to keep it at the end of your lease, the lessee might have a different...
Okay, there's not, okay,
whether we do-
understood, thank you.
Okay. So the amendment is to, if Mr. Keating ceases operations down there, to take down the sign, take it away, and remove the electrical. All those in favor of the amendment? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
The amendment?
The amendment.
I'm for out of both.
Okay, so the motion passes 6-1. Now, the main motion as amended to allow Mr. Keating to put in the new sign relocated from the west side to the east side with the electrical line to be supervised by DPW. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 6-1. Dan, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully it stays dry and you can get on the field soon.
Won't be a repeat of last year. Thank you.
Oh, and the guy who did the stone wall on Raymond's Lane, if you can get him to start working on Linden Lane, that'd be great. That's beautiful.
I'd like to do that.
He did some beautiful work up on Raymond's Lane. Looks very good.
And on East Main Road down to the bottom of the hill, too.
Yes. Thanks, Dan. Good luck. Thank you. Next up, we have a proclamation and approval to thanks the City of Portsmouth, UK, to be hand-delivered by school committee member Andrew Kelly in his annual trip over to Portsmouth for the induction ceremony this year of Mr. Lee Mason, is going to be the Lord Mayor for the year. Lee was here during our 375th celebration. So can I have a council approval for the proclamation?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
We're not paying for the travel, correct?
No.
Thank you.
No. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. There is an invite if anybody from the council would like to pay for themselves to go over and represent. New business number 3, resolution urging Attorney General to distribute Google funds to the Portsmouth School Committee from Ms. Pedro.
Thank you, Mr. President. So it's come to my attention that there's an initiative to have the Attorney General release the rest of the funds from the Google settlement, which was about $230 million, and have them distributed to 300-plus schools in Rhode Island. I liked the idea. I thought it had merit, since our school committee just came to us for next year's funding to beef up security at the schools, especially after the incident at the high school and all of that. So I would like to support the initiative by passing this resolution and sending it up to the Attorney General. And I know it has a typo in it, so I didn't actually type this up.
Can you extend sending the resolution to our state legislature as well?
Yeah, and I could do that. I was thinking of the other Rhode Island cities and towns for consideration as well.
Absolutely. That works too.
So
if this were to be accepted, Portsmouth would be looking at $300,000 to help safety at our schools.
No, she said 75,000.
No,
Per school.
75, yeah.
Per school.
Yeah.
Per school.
Because it'd be,
4 schools.
yeah, that's right.
300,000.
You're right, Mr. President.
Right?
Per school.
Per school, yeah.
Because it's not school districts, it's 306 schools in Rhode Island, that's right.
Very good.
So,
So do I have a second of the motion to?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. I know the superintendent is here. I'm assuming you support this as well? Yes. Okay. New business number 4. Public hearing, discussion, action, resolution for the 2017 money?
2017.
To be dispersed in 2018. Okay. Community Block Development Program. Mr. Crosby.
Yes, thank you. It is CDBG time again. I'm here to ask the council to open a public hearing to receive citizen views and comments concerning the proposed activities you see here. The rules have changed a little bit this time around. We are allowed to apply for a maximum of 3 public facilities project, up to $500,000 per, and then 2 public service projects. You see here we have the 2 public service projects are the housing hotline, which has been on the list for many cycles now, the Women's Resource Center. The 3 public facilities projects that we have selected are some additional money to supplement the $50,000 that we got in the last round to add to install a 15,000-gallon cistern for firefighting purposes out on Prudence Island, and we're asking for an additional $70,000 to put in a 3rd cistern out there. The second public facilities project is for sprinklers in the Portsmouth Senior Center. You see we have the amount here is listed as TBD. I have, since we published this, determined that the amount we have a rough estimate of $411,000 for sprinkler systems for the senior center. This would allow us to open up the 2nd floor for activities, increase the capacity of the center. And the 3rd is, this was selected by Church Community Housing. It's funding for roof, bathroom, and HVAC for Child and Family Services Residential Treatment Home here in Portsmouth. So that's the list. If you would open a public hearing, receive comments, and then you can discuss, or you can prioritize these projects any way you like. And then the last action I would like for the council to do is to adopt a resolution allowing the town administrator to file an application for these funds.
Okay. So this is a public hearing for these 6 items? 7 items, excuse me. No, just 6. 6 items plus the administrative portion of it.
Oh, okay.
So 6 items. If anybody would like to speak in favor or against any of these items, you can please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Stephen Osterguy with Church Community Housing, 50 Washington Square, Newport. We assist the town each year in preparing the application, and as Mr. Crosby said, we got a request from Child and Family Services to make improvements to one of their facilities here in Portsmouth, so that's why that is included. The Women's Resource Center and the Community Housing Resource Boards are applications that come every year. I would add a little caveat. While the town will be applying on their behalf, the state is asking communities where they have small grants like this to assign them to a lead community. So part of the application process is that the Community Housing Resource Board and the Women's Resource Center's application to Portsmouth will be signed to Newport to reduce the amount of paperwork and contracts that have to be administered by the town and the state. But you would still be acting on their behalf to apply for the funds.
So we apply for it, the money gets assigned to Newport.
And they would administer the grant.
Okay.
And the last one is, we put that in as affordable housing. We do a land trust model to create affordable housing. We have about 22 homes in Portsmouth right now where we own the land, people buy the homes. When they go to sell it, they have to sell it to another lower moderate income family. It keeps it affordable. We have a couple of potential homes we're looking at in Newport. We don't have a dollar amount yet. the Housing Development Fund is separate from the others, so it's not in competition with the town funds, and it can be applied for on a rolling basis, but we'd still have to have the public hearings about it. So just wanted to explain that.
Okay.
If there's any other questions.
Anybody have any questions for Steve?
I'm sorry, did you say there's 22 houses in Portsmouth alone, or total?
No,
between
in
communities?
Portsmouth, that we have in our land trust program.
Okay, thank you.
I have one question. The total amount we'd be asking is ups it from 411 to,
Well, the total amount is whatever, the only number that's not here is 411, so it'd be the sum total of all of these here. I don't know what that I can get my calculator.
511,
616.
616?
616, 900, I think,
Okay.
plus or minus.
Plus $44.
Plus $44.
Yeah. Okay.
Just a question, why is item 6 a $0 amount?
That was what he just explained. It's an open fund that they don't necessarily apply for, but we have to ask for it through the town, through the community development block grant process. So once we've asked and we are accepted, then they can go after those funds to buy land or houses to fit into the same program with the 22 houses.
Right, but is there an approximate amount that grant would?
Generally, it's somewhere around $100,000.
Per house or for the?
Yeah, per house.
And this is, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is sort of a placeholder for, as requests come in.
Yeah, we would kind of have to come back to the council to get approval to submit the application at that time.
Any other questions? Any questions or comments, other comments from anyone in the audience? Going once? Last chance? We have a motion to close the public hearing?
so moved. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Does the council have any wishes in terms of changing the order of the items 1 through 6? If there is none, do I have a motion to?
So does the senior center operate without, I mean, I think it's required based on some fire code things I looked at. Do they operate with an exemption?
They've been inspected, and right now, as long as they're not using the second floor, then they're okay, but we need a plan of action, and the plan of action was either to remove the stuff from the second floor that's being held in storage, or completely block it off, or sprinkle the whole building. So we've been working on this for over a year now, and as long as that we're working on a plan, we're considered in compliance, but certainly we need to move forward.
So is, on a safety thought, is the cistern, if I wanted to move this number 2 to number 1, move the cistern to 2, in your experience, or do you think that that's proper? Because
I think they're two totally different things. I mean, you have a whole another set of problems on Prudence Island with, getting access to water. Is that any more or less important? I don't know that any of us can really make that determination.
In your experience, Mr. Crosby, is there usually a set number of items that you actually get on a sort of request, so that we prioritize things higher, things that go down are less likely to occur?
In the past, as I said, the rules have changed. We are allowed these only three public facilities. You can reorder them any way you want.
So they're on a list.
In the past, we've been allowed more, and there's been more effort to reprioritize things.
Yeah, I remember up to 15 or 20 at times that we've juggled around.
But in this case, it's 3 public facilities projects and 2 public services.
I'm fine leaving it where it is.
Okay. So do we have a motion to approve and have the administrator forward to, do I have to sign the resolution?
Yes.
Oh, to have me sign the resolution, not the administrator.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-1. Thank you, Mr. Crosby.
Thank you, sir.
170, sir.
6-1.
Oh, I didn't vote against. All right.
Ms. Bader.
Thank you. I didn't look to my left.
But I did. Next up is just discussion with National Grid. They're going to clean the pipes with a pig.
Yes. You just have to bear with me here. Spectra Energy, the owner of the gas transmission line from the other side of the bay in Tiverton to Aquidneck Island, has to perform routine inspection and maintenance of that gas line. This project will begin in late May and run into early June. This operation is referred to as pigging. Pigging is the practice of using a mechanical device known as a pig to perform various maintenance and inspection operations. This is done, the important concept here is you can leave it on the pig. There you go. The important thing here is that this is done in an ideal world without interrupting the flow of the gas through the line. A launching station exists on Tiverton. This pig would travel through the pipe with the natural pressure that is in the gas line, and it would be retrieved at a retrieval station. That retrieval station is at the National Grid site on Old Mill Lane. And if you go to the next slide, this gives you kind of a geographic idea where it is on the island. It's over there near Wapping and Indian Road. Now, if you go to the next slide, here is an aerial view that right in the center you see the National Grid center or facility. Just to the right of that picture, you see that grassy area with a road going into it. That will be the staging area. This is all owned by National Grid. Prior to the start date, National Grid contractors will be conducting site work at that facility. They'll be setting up mats and some gravel, and that'll take about 2 weeks. They'll start that almost immediately. And then when that is completed, they'll set up and install equipment. That'll take about 2 weeks. There will be security on site 24/7. There will be a fence around the area that is screened. And then in the unlikely event that the pig becomes stuck in the pipe, that could be catastrophic for the island, because then you would have interrupted gas flow. So there would be LNG stored at the site that would be used as a backup, so that if the pig got stuck while they're retrieving that pig, you would be able to have uninterrupted gas flow on Aquidneck Island. So the schedule is that the LNG will be on site on the 25th of May. And then from the 30th of May to the 2nd of June, they'll be cleaning the pipe, and then they'll put a maintenance or an inspection pig through the first week of June. We have now exhausted my knowledge of pigging operations, but we do have representatives from National Grid here who can answer your questions.
I think you did a fine job of letting us know what pigging is.
Good evening. My name is Jacques Afonso. I'm the National Grid Community and Customer Manager, and I am responsible for the East Bay and the Aquidneck Island areas. To summarize my position, I'm the liaison for the cities and towns as projects come up, any issues, whatever may be related to National Grid Gas and Electric. So I think, Mr. Rayner, thank you. That was a great summary of pretty much the work that Spectra is going to be doing and the precautions we're taking just to make sure that the gas system on the island is maintained in case something is to happen during Spectra's maintenance work out there on their lines. One of the things I want to add is, as we've been communicating with Portsmouth, Town Administrator, Police, Fire, DPW, we've also been in contact with Middletown. I'm going to be contacting Newport later this week. It was just important to have this update of the Town Council today. What we've also done is, end of last week, we sent letters to abutters near that property, approximately a 200-foot radius, and we actually increased, through the help of Mr. Rayner, we've increased it to about 28 abutters in that area, notifying them of the project. They have my contact information, desk, cell phone, and email address, and we're also going to have an open house this Friday from 5 to 6 here at the Portsmouth Town Hall to address any of the questions or concerns that they may have. So it is a little bit of a time crunch with the overall work. Unfortunately, Spectra did put together the timeline for the work that they had to do out there, which kind of made us react a little bit fast to put this overall plan together. So that is what we have right now for communication and for the work we're going to be doing out there in Old Mill Lane to be prepared in case something is to happen. The intent is not to activate it. We don't want to have to, but again, we just want to be prepared because we have approximately 13,000 gas customers on the island. We want to make sure that the residential and local businesses are pretty much have their gas services and are not impacted at all. Great. Any questions or comments? No. And if none today, Mr. Rayner has my contact information. I'd be happy to answer any questions as they come up, if not today.
And what's the date and time again of the public hearing?
It'll be tomorrow, I'm sorry,
Friday.
Friday, April 27th from 5 to 6 p.m. here.
Here at the Town Council chambers? Okay. Any questions from the council? Ms. Bader?
Is that why the flags are on Park Avenue?
Not that I'm aware of.
Why are the flags, the National Grid flags on Park Avenue, all up and down?
Probably because of the road work on East Main Road, just signaling where the line is, rather than dig safe.
Oh, they're going down Park Avenue?
No, just so they don't.
There's probably an existing line there. DOT marked it out.
In the event of a stuck pig,
Except
how much LNG would have to be stored on this site?
That is something that Gas Control is still evaluating, but I do want to be a little cautious with certain critical energy information that we can't share out there. It is something where we will with Mr. Rayner and Chief Cranston, but again, as a public information, that's something that we want to be a little bit cautious about information we share out there. But we have been in communication with Mr. Chief Cranston, Chief Lee. Actually, once the site is set up and ready to go, we're going to be doing tours with police and fire to show them the site, answer any questions that they may have.
Unfortunately, it's just mostly cooking now in July.
No, it's
hopefully it's going to warm up by
Raytheon
then.
in the hospital.
Correct,
Navy
yes.
base.
Yes, and those actually, as aside from the municipalities, actually Raytheon and Newport Navy, Newport Hospital are actually my customers, and I deal with them on a daily basis. And correct, those would be three critical, especially Newport Hospital, that they utilize natural gas.
Ms. Bader?
All right, so this says you start in Tiverton, and then you end up on Old Mill Lane.
No, well, this is Spectra. Spectra owns and maintains the high-pressure interstate gas lines, so this is their work that they're going to be doing on their gas lines there. That actual station there on that property, Old Mill Lane, in that map, that's actually a demarcation point from Spectra's lines and National Grid's distribution line.
So where does the pig start?
Tiverton.
That's what I just said.
Yeah, it goes
I believe so, but again, details as to...
Goes under the river.
Yeah, they don't tell you where it is.
Yeah.
So you
details
can't
as to
tell me
that.
where the lines go?
Sitting on the bottom. Sitting on the bottom of the bay.
This is Department of Homeland Security information.
Oh, I see. All right.
Get that.
Yeah, well,
It is. It's
some
sitting
of us
on the
want to
bottom
know
of
if
the
it's
bay.
going by our house, that's all.
It's not buried.
But we do have our gas distribution, gas mains out in public way, and the gas services going into the homes, and that's all across the island. Portsmouth.
How long does this whole process take?
For us to set up, we're going to start next week, May 2nd. We're going to start our setup with the mats, as Mr. Rayner indicated, go into the fencing. We're going to do a gas service work out there, fencing, lighting, and then bringing in the equipment, being prepared, because Spectra is going to start their line maintenance on May 30th.
I kind of didn't mean that. I meant like to get the pig all the way through the
May
pipe.
30th. They're going to have two different sessions. The first one's going to clean, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Clean the section that the pig's going to run. And then the second one is going to, what's called a smart pig, and I believe it's going to collect data as it flows through the pipe.
So it's just one, so you don't have to tell me where the pipe is, but it's one big main pipe. It's not like all the little individual.
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
This is the main interstate high-pressure gas line.
Got it.
Correct. Or intelligent pipe. Smart
Right.
pig.
You
just don't want to have a pig roast.
No, that's what we're trying to avoid, the pig roast, yes.
As long as this doesn't get us in trouble with the SPCA. So
Yeah.
Thank you for the information.
I mean, how do the pipes get dirty? I thought natural gas was clean.
It's just the flow, the wear and tear, it's just making sure that everything is...
Oh, yeah, the inside of the pipe itself, yeah.
First time I've ever heard anyone using a pig to get something cleaner.
Hey, pigs are very clean animals.
Actually, that's true.
Just saying.
They are.
Thank you very much for the information. Again, so Friday night here, 5 to 6.
Correct.
For people.
One question, is there a record of, the safety of these sorts of operations that you can share? I mean...
I think the last time Spectra performed this maintenance work was about 7 years ago, and nothing happened where we had to utilize the site, or at least the LNG. So we didn't have to supply the island. So nothing got stopped, there were no issues with that. That was 7 years ago, and that's the last that I knew that occurred. Trust me, if we lost the island with the gas distribution, I think everybody here would remember that for quite some time, so.
Hospital is better, yeah.
Yes, I agree.
How about all the hungry tourists in Newport not being able to eat? People, every restaurant will be shut down. So, okay. Thank you. Have a motion to receive and place on file?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Motion
Have a
passes
great night.
7-0.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. New business number 6, we have a request for the approval of the new finance director, Mr. Rayner.
And Mr. President, Council, in accordance with the town charter, I hereby submit my request for your ratification of the appointment of Ms. Lisa Mills of Foster, Rhode Island as our finance director. I do so without reservation after having participated in a rigorous search process and extensive background investigation. The former finance director, Mr. John Menke, notified the town in February 2018 of his intention to resign and accept a new position at the U.S. Naval War College. With the announcement of his resignation, I began the selection process for a new finance director. Advertisements were placed in the Newport Daily News, the Providence Journal, the Rhode Island League of Cities and Towns, the Government Finance Officers Association, the International City and County Management Association, Indeed.com, LinkedIn.com, and on the websites for Portsmouth, Newport, and the state of Rhode Island. We received over 55 applications. Our HR director screened each candidate for conformity to minimum qualifications. 12 qualified screened applicants were invited to a first-round interview, and 6 applicants were invited to a final interview. Ms. Higgins, Mr. Chris Dioro, and Ms. Anna Riley unanimously agree, and I highly recommend the appointment of Ms. Lisa Mills. Lisa Mills is an exceptional candidate. She is an accountant, has a CPA qualification, which is expired, but a condition of her appointment would be that she reinstate her CPA qualification, which she agrees to. She also holds a Master of Science in Taxation. In addition to extensive corporate background in taxation and auditing, she has successfully served in municipal government as the finance director and director of human resources in the town of Foster and as controller for the town of Johnston. I am convinced Ms. Mills possesses the educational background, professional experience, and leadership integrity to lead our finance department, and I respectfully ask for your concurrence.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Rayner? Motion to approve the Ms. Mills as our new finance director.
Move to approve Ms. Mills as our finance director.
Second.
Mr. Gleason.
There's one question.
Sure.
Is there a probationary period?
Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you for bringing that up. The hiring would have carry with it a 6-month probation period, and as I stated, her agreement to fulfill the reinstatement of her CPA license.
Anyone else? Mr. Kessler?
Thank you, Mr. President. I won't support this motion. And the reason I won't is you got an email along with Mr. Aguiar where I requested to see the other finalists that were part of this selection. I didn't receive that, but yet Mr. Aguiar basically stated to Mr. Rayner, because I tried to resolve this before the meeting, that he in fact only saw, he saw 3 of the top 3 candidates to affirm this. The last appointment he was involved in, we received nothing but Ms. Mills's resume, this is not a vote against the candidate. It's a vote against the process that we used. Through all the town businesses that we have, whether it's Mr. Crosby who brings up an RFP and the town evaluates it, they come up with some sort of down select form, and whether I agree with it or not, I vote for or against it based on the information I have. It's not a blind vote as this is, and I will not vote for this because it is a blind vote. It's just a principle thing on myself.
Okay. Specifically, the charter allows for...
And it doesn't restrict Mr. Rayner from sending the resumes. It was confirmed through Mr. Aguirre that in fact that he had seen other resumes. It's nothing against.
The only time we have seen other resumes were in the discussion process for town administrator. We have not seen further resumes in any discussions of any department heads since 2012, when the charter was changed. Department heads are to come forth and be approved. That's it.
Again, Mr. President, this isn't against the charter, it's against the process.
Okay.
It's a blind vote. Either take this or nothing.
It's the way the charter is laid out.
This council's never been asked any other time to take a blind vote. And because there's only one selection, I'm not going to participate in the selection, Mr. President. I can't make it any stronger than that.
Okay. Our previous, before Mr. Menke, and Mr. Menke was a singular choice, and Mr. Lathrop was also a singular choice, there were no hiring process done at that point in time. There was one selection, here's my candidate, take it or leave it. That's the way it has been.
This is not... You're digging deeper than I want this to be.
But you're saying the process is blind. I'm telling you this has been the process.
I didn't say that it was a good process.
Okay.
I guess that's my argument.
Okay, so then we shouldn't have voted for the change of the charter.
I didn't vote for the change of the charter.
Neither did I, but it still got changed.
Correct. So,
Mr. Fitzmaurice, you have a quick question?
I do. Larry Fitzmaurice, 50 Kristen Court. An observation, actually. You, Mr. President, referred to past practices. I would go a little bit further back and identify that we were used to use professional search corporations or companies to give us a thorough search and a background investigation and a qualifications process, and then present that to the council. We're hiring a major department head for the town, and I think the due diligence here is on the behalf of the council here. You're asked to approve these department heads. I read the charter. The charter says you get to approve of department heads. And presumably that includes the ability to ask questions about who is applying and what their qualifications are. In this process, and Ms. Mills may be the best person, I don't know her, but the council can't see these, therefore, or at least most of the council can't see them, and therefore that decision is taken away from them. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Aguirre.
Just to say a couple of things here. I mean, this recommendation from Mr. Rayner has been vetted by a committee. There were 3 other folks that reviewed and interviewed the candidates, and I trust their judgment. And they came up with a recommendation. To say that this is a blind hire, or to insinuate that that maybe there's something else going on. I don't understand. I mean, we have a committee that evaluated it. I don't think we need to go out to a search. I think we followed past practice with going through a process, evaluating, interviewing, and we have a recommendation, and I think that's what we're here to vote on, and I support the recommendation.
Mr. President, I just want to say one thing.
Yeah, I'll say one thing. And for the record, the only resume anybody on this council has seen is Ms. Mills.
Understood.
Okay.
That was not what's implied. I can't say it any stronger. This is not against the candidate. This is against, and you didn't vote for the charter change either.
Nope.
It goes back to that I think that the process needs to be that we actually see other choices, and then you can affirm that it is. And I don't doubt that there's qualifications that she has. It's the process. I'm just uncomfortable, and I can't support it. It's not that I can't support the person. I don't support the process, Mr. President. And it goes back to the vote of the, like you said, the charter.
Ms. Baker?
Thank you. So could you go over that, part of the agreement is that she has to get her CPA license.
Yeah, she is a CPA. Her license is lapsed. She agreed during an interview that she would reinstate her license, and we would hire her on a 6-month probation. After 6 months, we'll reevaluate, and if there's nothing derogatory or if there's no reason to terminate her employment, she'll remain on as finance director.
So she has 6 months to get her CPA license back again.
I don't know how long it takes to get that reinstated. I don't anticipate it's that long.
Probably just pay.
Yes, this is Ms. Higgins. Ms. Higgins? I'm sorry.
That's not Ms.
There's too many
Higgins.
Lisas.
Hi, I'm Lisa Mills. It's going to take probably over the course of 3 years. It's a year-by-year process. You have to have 40 hours per year. I let it lapse because I was in private accounting, and as such, I didn't sign returns as a CPA. I'm still a CPA. I still have my master's in taxation. And I was part of the Rhode Island Society of CPAs and the American Institute of CPAs. As you can tell on my resume, I have both municipality experience, private experience. I worked in Boston, worked for some pretty big organizations, and I have some great references. So, to answer your question there.
So I guess the answer is she has up to 3 years to get her,
If that's how long it takes, that's appropriate. Like I said, she is a CPA. It just requires getting the license. It doesn't remove the fact that she's not that she's been or
well, yes,
is
it
a
does,
CPA.
because if you're licensed, you need to be licensed.
There's no requirement for a finance director to be a CPA.
No, there's no requirement for a finance director to be a CPA. That's true. That's not where I'm going with that. If you are a licensed CPA, though, there are certain,
Can I address your question between the difference? The only difference is that you have 40 hours of continuing education a year. So that's all the difference is. It's not that it's not amount of years that you're in experience. I've already had my CPA license. I passed it in 1990, and I maintained it until I was in public accounting and into Fleet Bank. So it's just a matter of going to classes, and that's really only the difference. Like Mr. Rayner was saying, I'm still a CPA. To be licensed, it gives you the right to sign a tax return as a CPA. If I sign at Lisa Mills, I can still sign at Lisa Mills. I can't sign at Lisa Mills CPA. That's the only difference.
I'm aware of that.
Okay.
I work with
Okay, sorry.
I work with CPAs.
Oh, okay.
When you're a CPA, if you find any discrepancies or wrongdoings, you're supposed to report by law those things, or else you will lose your CPA license. If you don't have your CPA license to begin with, you don't have to report. I have another question.
Is there an implication that we would find something wrong and not report it? I would just like to state for the record that will not happen on my watch. If there is something that is wrong in our audits, if there is something wrong in the financials, please grant me the respect that I would certainly report that.
Can I address the concern?
I
did find some discrepancies.
Just so people can hear you at home.
I did find some discretions in a prior municipality, and I did report them, and I did not maintain my CPA license at that point in time. Mr. Rayner is correct. I mean, regardless whether you're a CPA, public accountant, or whatever your title is, if you see indiscretions, you need to report them. I mean, it doesn't mean...
I'm merely pointing out the difference between not having a CPA license and having a CPA license.
And you have one more question?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. Out of the 6 candidates, how many did have CPA licenses?
Out of all the candidates, there were 3 total that I remember that had CPA licenses, and I'm presenting one to you tonight.
I was waiting because you said you had a couple questions.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Okay. And yes, Mr. Fitzmaurice is correct that in the past we've had gone out and gone to other recruiters, but now we have a full-time HR department, and that's part of her job is to do that. And to have 55 candidates, which is a good pool to pull from, I think we're going to be just fine with Ms. Mills going forward in the future. Mr. Casson?
I would like to welcome Ms. Mills aboard, but I still won't support. It's not you. Trust me. Okay. I want to be the first one to congratulate you on board, but I'm not going to support the process.
All those in
Oh, I
favor?
did remember the other question.
Okay.
Tonight, Mr. Rayner, you said that Mr. Menke left to take a job at the
U.S. Naval War College.
the War College, but originally in the email that you sent, it said he was resigning for personal reasons?
That's correct. He was looking for a better quality life, work-life mixture. His mother is quite ill. He's just transported her from Florida to here, so now he has to take care of her, he and his wife, and he chose a job where he thought he can manage both.
Okay.
All those in favor of appointing Ms. Mills as the new finance director? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-1. Welcome aboard. Hope you.
That was the second one. Well, you know, that was the second one.
Well, I didn't want to be premature, but, you know,
I knew.
just in case it was, 4-2 again, 4-3 against. We look forward to having you, and hopefully you can start as soon as possible. Mr. Rayner wasn't quite that great before this budget process started that you're about to witness now. New business number 7, presentation and submission for review of the town administrator's proposed budget for the fiscal year, July 1, 2018 through June 30, 2019. Mr. Rayner. And this is available and has been available since sometime a week and 10 years ago?
The budget has been available for almost 3 weeks. I don't know when this was posted online.
Okay. But the budget was posted online a while back.
If you could bring up the backup for this, please. If you can go to the next slide, please. Okay, where we're at with respect to the budget calendar, what you see here is an overview of the remaining budget calendar for this year. We scheduled this coming Thursday night as a placeholder, just as last year. Tomorrow night we'll review the revenues, school department, police, fire, and DPW, and then the remaining parts of the budget on Wednesday night. And as I said, Thursday will remain as a placeholder. We anticipate the council will adopt a provisional budget at the town council meeting on May 14th. The public budget hearing is scheduled for June 13th at the middle school, and the adoption of the final budget is scheduled for the June 25th town council meeting. Next slide, please. I'm very pleased to present for your review and consideration the proposed municipal budget for fiscal year 18-19 in accordance with the applicable sections of our town charter. The school and town staff have been working together since late last summer to provide you a document that helps you guide policy while serving to inform residents with respect to the town's fiscal programs and operations. Next slide, please. I believe this budget continues to promote and maintain initiatives and policies which encourage progress while preserving our town's character. I wish to thank everyone involved for their contribution, input, support, and willingness to compromise. Slide. Some main takeaways for this proposed budget. The commitment of the staff remains focused on maintaining the high level of services expected by our community. Based on revenue projections and recommended revisions to expenses, I propose expenditures of $63,247,183 from the general fund, which represents a total budget increase of 2.23% over last year, and a 55.4-cent tax rate increase from $15.42 to $15.974 per thousand. Our balanced budget serves to provide services to residents they cannot provide for themselves and includes adequate funding to maintain buildings, equipment, and infrastructure. This budget supports funding for capital that includes playground safety, the paving program, Glen Stables, Glen Park buildings, and DPW capital needs. It also continues the police cruiser replacement program and funds for needed town hall repairs and renovations. After consultation with the school superintendent, I recommend the town council request the school department fund their FY19 capital needs via their accumulated capital fund balance. This budget does not call for any new hires. Contracts with public works and police unions have recently been negotiated, and the provisions of those negotiations are included in this proposed budget. Next slide, please. Some significant drivers behind this budget include money set aside and reserved for an outstanding tax case, the upcoming general election, and increased retirement expenses. Additionally, we are accounting for our first payment of principal on the police station bond, assumption of operating expenses for the Prudence Island Transfer Station, payment of $50,000 to replenish the town capital account, and a drop in state aid. The drop in state aid is about $371,000. To balance the budget, we are proposing no new hires, as I stated, in the next fiscal year, and a delay in hiring in various departments. As you review the budget, you will see budget cuts in every department. I am additionally proposing level funding of civic support and school funding of school capital out of the school capital fund account. I'm also proposing $600,000 for the next FY paving program. Next slide, please. Our road surface rating is currently 73.42. This is a tight budget. By national standards, Portsmouth roads are satisfactory. The chart indicates a potential drop of 0.42 in our road surface rating if we only put $500,000 into the roads next year. The proposed $600,000 that I have in the budget for road paving will result in a potential drop in our current road surface rating of less than 0.4%, which we can make up in out years. Next slide, please. As we all know, taxes are the largest source of revenue for the town. Taxes have traditionally accounted for up to 85% of our revenues. For this budget, they account for 87.88%. Real estate is assessed at 100% of value based on periodic reevaluations performed by the tax assessor and his department. Our last full reevaluation, which is required every 9 years, was conducted a year and a half ago. Next slide. This is not meant to be an eye chart. It's just meant to show you how much of the budget is dedicated to big areas in the town. A little over 59% of the budget is proposed to fund the schools. And then if you add the schools and non-discretionary spending, that accounts for up to 75% of the total budget, leaving 25% of our total budget for town operations. Next slide. Here's a comparison of our FY18 tax burden relative to the rest of Rhode Island. Our tax rate puts us in the lowest third to the rest of Rhode Island and fourth in the lowest of 5 towns and cities offering a K-12 school district, a full-service police force, and a professional fire department. Next slide. Adjusted for inflation from January 2007 to January 2018, the tax on a median-priced home has gone up $152 since 2007, an average of $13.84 a year over the past 11 years, again, adjusted for inflation. Slide. This slide represents our proposed tax collection rate. In close consultation with the tax office, we have reduced anticipated collection rates. Quite frankly, Matt has picked all the low-hanging fruit there is to pick, and these are the most realistic rates we can forecast. Slide. With respect to the tax levy, we propose expenditures, as I've stated, of $63,247,183, and a total tax levy of $54,381,575. As previously stated, this represents a total budget increase of 2.23% over last year. With respect to wages, here we see a depiction of town wages year over year as a percentage of expenditures. The jump for 2016 to 2017 incorporates our movement to a 40-hour work week. We went from a 35-hour work week to a 40-hour work week, and hiring to authorize end strength. Since then, wages have risen at the inflation rate. Wages are decreasing as a percentage of expenditures due to contract negotiations and retirements of senior personnel. With respect to benefits, again, we see the jump from 2016 to 2017 in benefits due to the shift to the 40-hour work week and hiring to end strength. But from 2017 through 19, we see a leveling off in year-over-year expenses and a decrease in benefits as a percentage of expenditures. This is our projected debt service. A version of this slide was first shown to the Council 2 years ago at the January 2016 joint legislative meeting. It was projected then that 2019 would be our debt service high watermark. Over the next 3.5 years, we will extinguish over $1 million in annual debt service payments. But this is the hump we have to get over. In this slide, I'm talking about capital requests and projects. This proposed budget is balanced and supports a municipal government focused on providing core services aligned with the capital needs of our town. I've highlighted here a list of the major capital purchase and projects for the upcoming fiscal year. Additionally, for this fiscal year, we intend to focus on 3 projects: final construction of the new police station, completion of the comprehensive community plan, and grant funding of upgrades to the Mount Hope Parks property. Next slide. So in closing, I'd like to reiterate that the operation budget is the most important short-term planning tool at our disposal. It is a plan wherein we establish service priorities for the community and a method to continue providing those services into a fiscally sustainable way. I deeply appreciate the work of a most diligent staff. They are truly committed to excellence in government, and I'm very proud of all of them. Lastly, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to everyone in the school administration, community members, and community leaders for their work in helping us craft a budget that we can live with. With that, that concludes my brief, and I look forward to presenting the budget over the next 2 to 3 nights.
Okay. Anyone on the council have general questions for Mr. Rayner? Or if you want, we could hold them for tomorrow night. For specifically tomorrow night, we'll be doing schools, revenue.
We'll do revenue, schools, police, fire, and then DPW.
Okay. So unless there are general questions on the budget or philosophies, we can hold specifics for tomorrow night in different departments. Ms. Ujifusa.
I just want to thank Mr. Rayner and the staff for the enormous amount of work that you've put into preparing this budget, and especially in the midst of having to deal with many unexpected obstacles. And I just want to express the fact that I believe our town is very fortunate to have such a hardworking and dedicated staff. So thank you.
Thank you. I would agree. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other general comments, or are we going to hold off till tomorrow night at 7 o'clock? Ms. Bader?
I'll make a motion to receive the town administrator's recommended budget for review by the council.
Second.
Fantastic. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Next up, we have our correspondence, which is the Prudence Island Water District's annual report, and also the Clean Ocean Access Quarterly Report. We have a motion to receive those and place them on file.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Future meetings are tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, where we'll be touching base on the school department budget, also police, fire, and DPW. My goal is to try and end all of these budget hearings at about 9 o'clock. I think anything more than 2 hours talking about numbers will all go batty. So hopefully we can do both meetings, and if we need to, we'll go over our night on Thursday, if needed.
It'll help with the quality of life.
That will, absolutely. Any other business that anybody needs? All right, we have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. See you all tomorrow night.